I started SaaStanak as a kind of a lead engine for myself to kind of get more of a tune of like what's the local community like and potentially sell something. But what I found out is I actually like this. I like organizing events. I did this first meetup in Zagreb. Around 18 people showed up and it was in a pub.
Leonard Eldić is the founder of SaaStanak, a community and event series for the SaaS industry in Central and Eastern Europe. He started the community with the goal of creating networking opportunities for SaaS founders and operators with global ambitions.
We met last year in Zagreb in the first conference, and he was the best host I ever met because he was very warm with everyone who participated in that event. Welcome to the new episode of Leaders of Growth. I'm Milan Savov, CEO of SmartClick, and we help B2B SaaS companies to position on top results of Google and LLMs and get high quality leads. I started this podcast because I wanted to bring the stories, the lessons, the strategies of real leaders and people who walk the talk directly to you. So in every episode, I sit with founders, CMOs, and the people in leadership positions to uncover what's really working on in IT and SaaS these days. Today, I'm joined by Leonard Eldić, the founder of the fastest growing SaaS community in the region. And we met last year in Zagreb in the first conference, and he was the best host I ever met because he was very warm with everyone who participated in that event. So, Leo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Milan, and thanks for the kind words. I do think being someone who organizes events, you need to be a good host. And of course, as you know, in Balkans, we excel at that.
Yeah, thanks for that. So can you introduce yourself for people who don't know you? And maybe I'm just curious to hear your story. What did you do before SaaStanak?
Yeah, absolutely. I sold software. So to be very, very frank, I started SaaStanak as a kind of a lead engine for myself as well, as I was working at ChartMogul, which is a B2B SaaS company that sells to SaaS companies.
Yeah.
So it's a subscription analytics software. And I started SaaStanak to kind of get more of a tune of like what's the local community like and potentially sell something. But what I found out is I actually like this. I like organizing events. I have a background in events before my SaaS career. I organized music festivals and concerts in my hometown. So it kind of became a blend of two passions. One is like this B2B SaaS world that I came to know of, and then the other was like actual real life events. So 4 years ago, I did this first meetup in Zagreb. So I think around 18 people showed up, and it was in a pub. And at some point, someone said, "Hey, like we should do a proper meetup with speeches and everything." We were just drinking at that point, so then someone came with the idea, and it was actually Marta from Determ. Determ is a company, B2B SaaS company in Zagreb, and they were the first hosts for us. So that's how it started.
Does it like an initiative from ChartMogul, they creating the community? It was by you, leading by you and your department.
No, it was actually my idea. I mean, I've been during this role at ChartMogul, I had the pleasure of actually going to other SaaS conferences abroad. So ChartMogul sent me to San Mateo to SaaSer. I was there 3 times, and at SaaSer in Barcelona, at SaaStanak in Dublin, and later I was at SaaSiest in Malmö, and basically all the way back to first SaaSer. So that was 2021, September 2021. I kind of had already the idea of like doing something similar here in the Balkans. And then when I saw SaaSer, I saw it's like a huge festival, and I was thinking like we should have one as well. So that's how it kind of started. The idea of the conference was somewhere in my brain, but like somewhere down the line. But at that point, I just wanted to meet up with people who are doing the same work and in the same industry as me in my hometown.
Yeah, so it always starts with an idea, then like a vision, and then you start believing it more and more, and then it becomes true at the end if you're again consistent in what you actually want to achieve. So in my opinion, communities are pretty hard to build and even hard to maintain. Can you tell us what's like the biggest challenges in growing SaaStanak for you? growing the
Well, I
community?
can tell you, like right now, the biggest challenge is like how do you actually talk with the community? I'm
Mhm.
actually in contact with other community leaders of
Mhm.
guys from actually Alex from SaaStalk, guys from
Mhm.
SaaSiest in Malmö. Like we all have a kind of a similar problem where
Mhm.
like your main channel, the only channel you actually own is email.
Yeah.
Everything else is basically reliant on social media, and
Mhm.
some that have Slack channels also own that. But the problem is, I don't think the online community part is actually solved. I think
Mhm.
once you start having like bigger WhatsApp groups or bigger Slack channels, it kind of gets fuzzy and people lose touch with each other. So for me, it's like always real life events. That's where I get the pulse of the community, and that's how we maintain the community momentum. We actually organize a lot of these events. Like even this month alone, we're organizing 3 events in 3 different cities in Balkans,
Yeah. Yeah.
and by the end of the year we're probably going to organize 15 more. So it's
That's
a
great.
huge, like very big pace, but that's how I feel we are actually doing some work as opposed to online, even though I want to figure out online as well. So
Yeah.
anyone who
Yeah.
has an idea can reach out to me.
Yeah, so it's always nice to like easier contact with the people, but on the other side there is like a lack of communication when there are so much Slack channels, for example. I'm part in some other communities which are IT related. There's like masterminds, but if the owner or if there is no like people who actually care about that community, share materials all the time, the engagement is really low. So probably that would be the challenge. And again, nature is a bit more, much better for personal connections. Uh, that's great. So, can you tell me how do you currently try to keep people engaged in the community? What exactly you do? Because I feel the energy in the main conference, but also in the local meetups. So, what's behind that? How to come up with that engagement?
So usually how it works is I try to talk with as many people as I can. So either on
Mhm.
our meetups or I even visit other people's meetups
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
conferences. So this basically this fall winter season I'm going to be at SaaStalk. I'm going to be at How to Web in Bucharest, and I'm going to be in Berlin for Artist.
Mhm.
So I try to get a pulse from folks that are visiting these events of what topics do
Mm.
they care about, what speakers do they follow, and then we kind of with my team, so Igor and Tina mostly, we basically go through all of these ideas and try to come up with a good speaker list, create some kind of agenda, not only for the main conference but other for the smaller events as well. So as long as we have a pretty good idea of like what people want, I think
Mm.
we have a successful event on the other hand. And also like after the event people leave us feedback, so we
Yeah.
always know if we hit or missed with someone. And although both happen, so we sometimes have
Yeah.
speakers that we think that are going to overperform and then they flop,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then on the other hand you have like people you don't even count on and they just like blew everyone's mind. So I really like usually going through feedback forms after the conference
Yeah.
and after the meetups and getting a better idea of like what should we improve on.
Yeah. And there are like also companies who are sponsors who are with you a long time for now, which I know. What's the main thing for them to be the part of that bigger picture?
Yeah,
Why they're
so if
deciding to participate?
you look at like company like Paddle, for example, like
Yeah.
they, and I would implore everyone, even you, like you should have someone from Paddle team on the podcast to actually talk about their event strategy, because I generally think it's very smart. They start with the ground up approach. They actually go into a community and then they don't impose themselves. They create actionable content for the community and
Mhm.
create some mutual trust that they can share.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I really like about like partners like them, even then I kind of segment in like 2 types of partners. There is
Yeah.
one type, which is Paddle, who have a commercial incentive,
Mm-hmm.
but are community supporters and they create vast amounts of content, and they are actually like engaging with people
Yeah. Yeah.
in our ecosystem. And then on the other hand, you have like companies that are part of this community, like Productive, Treble,
Mm.
etc., and they are the ones that actually want to support the community, and they also create good content, but they don't have necessarily a clear commercial incentive, other than actually getting hires and like creating community recognition and making the community grow. So it kind of for them, like the idea is like if they can support it, like if we grow as a SaaS community, they are going to grow as a company as well and have a firmer root here in the Balkans.
Yeah. So you mentioned Pedal. I noticed their energy on the whole team, which is part of the events, how they're trying to give more value to others. They're not trying to sell anything to you, but they're so open to share anything as a knowledge or connection, whatever it is, just to help you. And this is really powerful. By the way,
I think like Milan, I mean, you've seen it yourself. Like communities in general don't need like strong, one-to-one transactional networks. They need usually trusted networks. And if you can embed, like even if you're a vendor from wherever you can be in the world, if you can embed yourself in a community, which means you become a trusted source. For example, a lot of people come up to Paddle about sales questions. They have a big and talented sales team, and I've seen on a lot of our events, people just come up to their salespeople and ask like how they're doing certain things, which is totally unrelated with like what they're actually selling, but they become a trusted source for information. And I think that's great, and that's what you get from years of investment in events, communities, and actually being present.
Is there some like a success story which happened in the events, like cooperation or partnership, which is like worth to be shared?
Yeah, I mean, there is plenty of them. I generally like for example, tomorrow I'm going to Belgrade to host Bogdan Habic and Nikola or Nick from HeyReach. And both of these founders are awesome founders. Bogdan is great because he and his Tenderly team actually created this community called Garaja, and that's like the first community we partnered with in Serbia. And that's like the first event I went in Belgrade. And that's how I met Milan. Milan is his co-founder. Milan also works for Garaja, and we started this cooperation together. So that's like one success story for me. But on the other hand, like for example, for Nick from HeyReach, he was at one of our events in Belgrade on Revenue Day, first one that we did in April 2022, I think. And back then he was doing Howitzer. And like basically that was like him traveling from Skopje, like sitting in his car to meet other SaaS people. Later, now he's like a very successful founder. And I kind of feel like we might have not done anything, but him like being present at the event and actually talking with people, I'm sure like this is something that like helped him to actually develop the idea and like kind of brainstorm it in his head. And in the end, like this is what kind of now he's like kind of giving back to the same community that he came from. And I think that's great. There is also one interesting story. We had Poya from, he was basically a sales guy at SaaStanak. At first conference, he had this, like he was very adamant about like go to US, like do this. And also with Nenad from Cake, he was having the same message. And there was a couple of founders from Serbia that actually did that. And Georgia from Sign Avatar, for example, he was so inspired, came back to Belgrade, booked his flight to San Francisco. Now he's also doing great with his SaaS business. So other than like commercial things where like people actually meet, there is plenty of these examples where people sold software, bought companies, etc. I think like for me, the most inspiring stories are where like there is like a full circle moment where people come back and actually contribute after they got something, which I think is a great thing.
That's great. When you achieve something and just want to get back to the rest, it's I think the most powerful for everyone. In your point of view, can you just mention one thing which is on your mind, which is the most powerful thing why a SaaS founder should be part of like a community?
So I think like if I have to single out one is basically peer-to-peer learning. I generally think like I had a lunch yesterday with founder of Sessionize, which is a SaaS tool that we use for managing agenda at SaaStanak. And like just having this lunch, a 3-hour lunch, we talked about like so many topics. And then like I name dropped a lot of founders that I know of from the region, and turns out like Domagoj, the founder, he didn't know any of them like in person or chatted with them. And because I listened to a lot of folks, I immediately saw like things where they could help each other. So I think like founders, and I generally think for myself also, like since I started SaaStanak full time, I'm being more and more living in my head as opposed to actually talking with people about my own problems and trying to find peers in my own circles. So I think there is a tendency of all founders to go deeper and deeper in your problem. And sometimes it's so isolating that you just don't think that there is anyone else in the world who can understand you that well. And there actually is. I generally think even in your backyard, in your city, or in your region.
What I found is that when you have someone where you can share your issue, your problem, there is also a lot of other people who already solved that, and they can give you the shortcut for solving that. So you're not trying yourself to do everything on your own, because the problems are pretty much the same for everyone, which is depending on the stage they are. But that's really great what you mentioned.
Also, Milan, to add to that, so I mean, you would agree as well, we live in a pretty confusing time. Like there is AI on the one side, on the other side, like SaaS businesses in general, are they slowing down? Are they like growing? No one knows if this is like the good times or bad times. You look at NASDAQ, everything is shooting up, and then like you're thinking, okay, like what's wrong with my business? And I generally think like when you walk in a room full of people and you feel the energy and you actually talk with folks like how they are doing, and when you actually get to meet someone on a friend level, you can kind of tell better if you're doing better or you're doing worse. You can see, like, you can gauge your performance much better when you have peers. And I think there is a certain calmness to that. Like if you can actually be calm with your business, with your growth pace, and like with your decisions, it sometimes comes to this where like you just need to see other people and how they're doing and take some advice when you can.
Yeah, exactly. We discussed the communities when you shared about your experience with chat module, and you started creating a community because of lead gen, demand generation. I'm seeing a lot of companies are trying to like create their own communities around their products. So can you just give like any advice what they should be careful, how they should start about it? I think this will be useful for a lot of SaaS companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny that it started as a lead gen service, or rather, like I wanted to be a lead gen channel, but I kind of fell in love with it in a totally different way. And I think, in general, these companies, when they're doing these communities, they shouldn't have a lead gen as a goal. I generally think like transactional stuff at events is the worst part of the events. I can understand when investors and early stage startups have like this matchmaking one-on-ones and stuff like that. That's a totally different game. But you generally want to have a room of nice and interesting people, people who will connect with each other more than they'll connect with you. So this is what kind of makes the communities work. It's not one-to-many communication. It's like many-to-many. And the feeling of being a part of something usually comes from a certain like clear purpose of the existing of the community. And I can tell for SaaStanak is the clear purpose is like to put our, let's say, Central and Eastern European SaaS businesses on the map, and actually show that there is a lot of things going on here where like we are more than capable of building very interesting, big, profitable, small, like one time or like single shop type of businesses, like all kinds of SaaS businesses that exist everywhere else. And we can compete. And I think we can compete even better now than we did years before. And we're going to be even better in the future. So I think like this kind of mission, or rather like thinking about it as a purpose, serves for everyone in the community to rally about. And for businesses that have communities just for the sake of it, I just think like they should have a clear like mission driven purpose and people that can drive it. Like you need really good, like people like you, Milan, like you've been at our events in Skopje and Zagreb and Šibenik, like people who will actually speak for you as opposed to you being like the only voice. I think this is golden. And that's where like the hospitality element comes in with a clear mission.
Yeah, you mentioned a few times like a clear mission and the purpose behind it. But how to structure that when you have to build community around the product, which usually most of the SaaS companies have? Is this
I
like
mean,
the similar have a mission for the product and how to combine people? Because you know in SaaStanak there are mostly leaders, people in leadership positions, but there are products who have like end users for their software, and now when you try to build something around them, how to make it better, for example.
yeah. So I think like you could end up with a Slack community, which is a help desk channel. That's one thing. Like your mission can be improve customer experience on that side. But what I feel is a better or like more of a mission driven purpose is like you are understanding what your businesses are all about, which means like if you're serving SaaS businesses, they are up to growth, serving their customers, retaining them. So if your mission of the community is actually enabling people to kind of talk about these things or make their processes better or actually share some learning, then it's totally unrelated with the product. You're like if Paddle creates a Slack channel tomorrow with like all of the SaaS businesses that they have, if it's only about the billing, like they're just going to create a help desk channel, but they have an opportunity to create a proper, like similar what we did with SaaStanak, a proper community of SaaS businesses that are helping each other. So I think like that's the mission part. And I generally think like some businesses, like for example, Productive in Zagreb, they have a community of agencies called Bold. Haven't personally, like I'm not an agency guy, so I don't know how it looks from the inside, but it seems fairly successful. And their mission is generally to empower agencies to do better work. So I think this is where a clear sense of purpose is needed. And then on the other hand, which I think is also very interesting, is like when you have these influencer style communities with, for example, YouTubers that have like their followings. It's more of a one-to-many type of community, but sometimes you get like these channels that have like their Discord servers and they basically have like internal memes, jokes, stuff like that. And I think there is an opportunity for B2B companies to do similar things. Like they could generally promote people from the company or their customers to become these kind of voices and actually, let's say, dominate certain topic. If you're a vertical SaaS for hotels, like why don't you dominate like this topic on YouTube or somewhere else, create a following. So I think this is very exciting for me, and I'm following this space a lot, and I'm thinking through SaaStanak lens a lot about it.
That's great. So I have a bit similar mission with this podcast because our main customers are B2B SaaS companies. So I want to bring them some people who are experienced in something and then transfer their knowledge so they can improve something, some segment, some process better in the company. And besides that, I have a private group with our customers at one place. It's like more mastermind group where we discuss weekly challenges, weekly wins. And, people are really open to share their own perspectives, how they overcome some challenge, and they're like giving benefits each other when it comes to solving some issues faster. It's really powerful.
Absolutely. There is a rise of private communities that people are like basically curating right now. I think it's I don't know if you're going to agree, like you're in SEO, but I think like with this AI wave, and we're probably going to get more of a, let's say, dead internet on the other hand, and then like you're trying to find spaces where it's alive. So I think like private communities are like something like forums used to be. Like you would go to a certain, I was like on gaming forums, so you would go there and then like you have this community of people that are chatting about something. Reddit is not it, and then like it's too broad and too vast, and then you have like these private communities that are kind of basically in this place where you could find a topic and a private community that you could pay for and enter. So I think it's interesting, and I think communities in general are going to become more and more a topic as we go on, with the internet being more and more dead, in fact. So that's what my thesis is, and why I'm betting on SaaStanak.
Completely agree, because with all this AI thing, we are becoming like more dependent out of it. We're trying to improve something always, but then it again comes to human when you build actually the relationship. You can't speak with AI all the day.
Well, some do.
Yeah, great. So uh, I had another question around the conferences. I was part of the two main conferences. I think all of the conferences in Skopje, except the one when I was not in the country. But what's more important for you when you decide to bring a speaker on stage? What kind of story or experience do you want him to share so there is a value to the others?
Yeah, I mean, our whole thing from the day one was real stories. Sometimes that's very hard to get. People have rehearsed real stories, and I don't think we need like someone going off the bat and experimenting. But we do need something where like you actually feel a certain connection with the person on stage, like where you
Yeah, yeah,
you tackle the problem in a way that is humble and actually gets from perspective of like I couldn't solve it to I solved it and this is how, or on the other hand, like this is how my experience with running a SaaS business was. And I think like this is where you have to steer away from promotional content, where you have to communicate even when you have sponsors and sponsors having keynotes or speaking slots, having a really clear communication of do's and don'ts. This is key to actually delivering good content. And on the other hand, I think like for us, it's always trying to find people that people don't have a lot of opportunities to speak, or are not someone that you're going to hear from every day. So like if we really do try hard to uncover these folks that are quite talented.
great. That's
And I
great.
think we do a good job in it. I guess like as much as I can read the feedback forms, people seem happy with the content we publish.
That's really great. And I hope there will be a lot more interesting stories in the future.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't believe like how interesting stories, how many interesting stories in SaaS they are. I think like we all get caught up with like certain big names that we follow
Yeah,
on
yeah,
LinkedIn, etc. But there is a vast majority. I mean, you had Jonathan, for example,
yeah,
at
yeah,
your podcast, who is a super interesting guy and someone who is rarely like a speaker at conferences, and he should be. So stuff like that, where we're like, it's just matter of experience and
yeah,
us
yeah.
meeting people. That's why I travel a lot to actually meet people in person, and then have the opportunity to host them in my home country.
That's great. So, where do you see SaaStanak heading in the next few years? Maybe do you have some bigger vision around it?
Yeah. So I generally think, but we started last year. I mean, first year conference was totally different from the second year. And what we started last year, I think, is something more of a unique and boutique style of conference. Like we generally SaaS events have this problem. Like you need a trade show to actually have sponsors,
Yeah,
because sponsors come for leads. On the other hand, I think like trade shows in software are the most boring things that you could actually produce. Like because no one travels for hours and hours to stare at a screen. You're basically doing that all day, and then you travel to a conference to go to a booth and stare at a screen. So if
yeah,
you have an expo space, you have probably usually have a problem of like people actually visiting these booths. So you
yeah,
need to create some games and stuff like that. And I think all of this is pretty short-sighted. I
Mm.
just think like most of the business happens in like personal connections, and where you actually sit in a room with people and get to know them. So what we're doing with this vacation resort and having like everyone in the same place, like you eat, sleep, and listen to keynotes at the same place,
yeah,
is we enable more FaceTime. I do tend to like go to a lot of conferences, and my biggest problem is like for all of the travel and logistics, I spend only a couple of hours actually in these like 2 days or
yeah,
three
yeah,
days where
yeah,
I'm at in actual conversations, which feels for me as a waste. Like, why
yeah,
did I spend so much time and money to get there when I can just like for like a couple of hours I'll
yeah,
talk with
yeah,
people
yeah.
that I actually want. So this is what we are after, and I think we're going to improve on that aspect more. It's something that one another conference that I visit regularly, it's a gaming conference called Reboot. They call it fishbowl effect,
Mm.
or rather fishbowl conference. You have
Yeah,
like
yeah,
small and big fishes in the same pond, and I like that. Like no one no one leaves the resort, and you actually can strike up a chat at like 9 p.m. In a hotel bar with someone. And I really liked that like allure of like having off the beaten track type of moments at a
yeah, yeah.
conference.
Yeah, that's great. So if I need to compare Zagreb and Šibenik, as you said, the main thing was that you're at one place all the time with everyone, and you make better connections in that way. For example, in Zagreb, you have to find a taxi, then come to the venue, then go to the other when there is a party and so on. But you're traveling most of the time, and you're trying to set up the logistics. But here, everything's set up. This is really a huge benefit for the participants. So we're at the end of the podcast. If any SaaS founder is listening right now and want to leverage a community for growth, what's the first step that you take? What do you
Come
recommend?
to any of our events. You can always DM any of us, me, Igor, or Tina on LinkedIn. But come to, or Maria in Serbia, come to any of the events that we host. We host them regularly. And your best bet, if you want to meet the most people, is to come to the conference. I generally think leveraging events for yourself is like a personal thing. Some people like to strike up chats, some people don't. Yeah. But you'll probably find something you like. Is it a speaker, like a certain agenda topic, or someone you'll meet? I tend to think even founders I need to beg, like very technical founders that didn't want to come and they ended up coming. Yeah. They love the conference and they love the vibe. So I'm going to continue doing that for years to come to get as many interesting founders to come. But sometimes if you need an advice, or if you need someone to tell you to do that, let me know. I'll connect you with any type of technical founder or non-technical founder, and they'll tell you their experience. So that's maybe a long-winded answer to your short question.
Yeah. You just remind me. I want to give another perspective here. I think everyone who is looking to visit an event or join a community first have to think about what he or she can offer to the community, and if that's natural for them, from the heart, I think the energy will be felt from the other side, and that's the power, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't say it. I couldn't say it better. So, Milan, I think we're gonna quote you on our website.
Thank you, Leo. So that's it for today. Thank you a lot for your time, for the honest answers. Do you want to share maybe something else which we didn't cover in the questions before?
Sure. I don't know when the podcast will be aired, but we're gonna collect speaker signups soon. Mm-hmm. I'm just waiting for some website changes to actually announce it. And I would love to have anyone who has an interesting story or actionable advice to share. Just reach out, or actually go to these links that we're going to announce in the posts, and basically give us your thoughts. We might invite you to the conference as a speaker. We're always up to inviting people who don't have a chance to speak somewhere else, or actually haven't been famous yet or something, as long as we recognize it's a good story and something interesting for the community. So that's maybe follow us all on LinkedIn and Instagram, and you're going to hear
share all these links with me, and I will put it in the description.
Absolutely. Thank you, Milan.
I hope all of you enjoyed this episode. So follow this podcast so you don't miss any future conversations with SaaS and IT growth leaders. This was Leaders of Growth, powered by SmartClick, your growth partner for B2B SaaS companies looking to scale their organic leads. I'm your host, Milan Savov. So until next time, keep leading, keep scaling, keep growing. Thank you for watching.
And come to SaaStanak.
Come to SaaStanak, yeah.